Hello everybody, my name's Tim from IELTSfreeway.com, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you how to prepare for your IELTS test in 6 steps. Step 1 is to find out about the test. So, do you know the format and layout of the test? Do you know the timings for each part? Do you know the scoring system? Do you know the content and likely topic areas? And are there any specific details or concerns that you have? It's very important that you're clear on all of these before you can start preparing properly for the test. So step 1 is to find out about the test first. This website, IELTSfreeway.com, contains all of the answers to these questions. All you need to do is go through the relevant sections and find out the information. I've even prepared a short document that you can print out and fill in with these pieces of information if you wish. And step 2 is target setting. First, you need to know what your level is right now. To do this, you can follow the links in the different sections of my website which show you where there is some original, authentic practice material directly from the creators of the IELTS exam. And you can use that to find out what your level is right now without actually having to take the test. So you just need to search through the different parts of my website. And once you've done this, you need to consider where do you need to get to and by when. So what level do you actually need? So you might need to check the university that you're applying to. What score do they want you to have? You might need to check with immigration what level they require you to have, or it may be for a job application. But you need to be clear on what level that you need to get and when is the deadline for you to achieve that. Once you know that information, you need to think, are you being realistic? Is it realistic for you to go from a band 5 to a band 8 in a 2-month time frame? Most likely not. Jumping from a band 5 to a band 8 is not realistic for most people, but you can speak with an IELTS teacher or someone else with experience of the exam to decide if this is realistic for you. Next, you need to be aware of the band marking criteria for your desired band level. So these are all available on my site again, but you can just as easily Google public band marking criteria IELTS writing or IELTS speaking, and you can find what the examiners are looking for each of the different levels. This will help give you an idea of what you need to do to achieve the band score you need. And finally, you need to consider how you are going to bridge the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. How much time do you have available for practice? Are you going to consult or get lessons from an IELTS teacher? How are you going to get feedback to improve? You need to consider how you are going to raise your level. It might just be learning exam technique from different websites, but you need to have a clear idea of how you're going to increase your band level. Step 3 is to develop your IELTS know-how. There are a lot of different techniques and strategies for IELTS, so do you know what the different question types are in the different parts of the exam? Do you know different techniques for these different question types? Do you know different strategies and tips for the different parts of the exam? There are lots of them available here on my website for you to read and discover and maybe make notes for yourself. Do you know what the likely topic areas and related vocabulary that you are likely to need in the exam? Do you know where you are going to take the test? Where is your nearest test centre? And do you know how far ahead you need to book your test? Often the test centres are fully booked for a few months, and if you have a deadline you need to meet, then you need to make sure that you have your test booked so you can meet your deadline. All of these things you need to consider in step 3 of preparing for your IELTS test. And step 4 is to get focused. You need to learn vocabulary and form ideas and opinions which are related to the different topic areas you're likely to see in the IELTS exam. So this may mean watching TED documentaries, reading the BBC News website regularly, reading the National Geographic website, reading broadsheet newspapers such as The Independent, The Times, The Guardian, or the Sydney Morning Herald. These are more serious, formal, intellectual newspapers where you'll hear the correct type of vocabulary used in the correct way, which will help you broaden your vocabulary. And when you learn new vocabulary, you need to see how these new words actually fit into a sentence. Don't be tempted to just write lists of words. You always need to focus on how the words fit into a sentence and what words they usually appear next to. This is collocation and makes your writing and your speaking sound much more native-like. So that is step 4, to get focused on brushing up on your vocabulary and forming your own ideas and opinions about the different news items that are in the news, because these are all very much related to the topics that are likely to come up in the IELTS test. Step 5 is certainly one of the, well, probably the most important step, and that is to practice and get feedback. So make sure you do a full practice test under exam conditions so that you know exactly what to expect on the day. This will help you remain stress-free and will ensure that you don't get confused or misunderstand any instructions on the day of the exam. Secondly, you need to do practice tests and get feedback from a specific IELTS teacher. Getting feedback is critical. Otherwise, how are you going to know where you're going wrong or what you need to improve? And getting somebody who knows the test to check your answers is by far the best idea, because they will know specific things you need to do for the exam that are related to the band criteria, which I mentioned earlier. Thirdly, you need to make sure you act on the feedback that you're given consistently. So if you've been told that you need to improve the structure of your essays, then that's what you need to focus on. Practice writing essays with all the different parts of an essay in the right order, and repeat this as often as possible. There's no point getting feedback and then not acting on it. Fourthly, focus on areas you need to improve on. If your teacher tells you that your punctuation is not very good, or that your sentence structure is not very good, work on those areas. Get help and advice on those areas. Use the internet. Have a private lesson. Do what you need to do to improve your areas of weakness. And fifthly, you need to make sure that you focus on both exam technique, so you learn strategies and techniques for doing the exam in an efficient way, but you also need to develop your language at the same time. because if you have to take the exam several times, you don't want to just be trying to improve your technique. Having good exam technique will only increase your band score, perhaps half a band, but increasing your language skill and ability can, over several months or years, dramatically increase your band score. So you need to focus on both exam technique and language development. Finally, step 6 is to plan and take your test. When you do this, you need to consider, when is a good time for you to take your test? When do you need your IELTS score for? What is the deadline? Is it for an immigration application, university application? When is the deadline that you need to have done your test by? When will you have more time available to practice? Perhaps you have some free time in one particular month. Perhaps you're a student and you have July off. Then perhaps towards the end of July would be a good time for you to schedule your test. Or if you work full time, then perhaps there's a particular time during the year when you're less busy at work, so that would make it less stressful for you to take your test at that particular time. Also, when will you be best at English? Perhaps you go on foreign holidays to English-speaking countries, in which case when you come back from that holiday, your English may be at its best at that time. Or perhaps you've enrolled on an English course and it finishes at a certain date, and hopefully your English will have improved by the end of that course. So think, when will your English be at its best? Fourthly, you need to make sure you have a backup plan. What happens if you don't get the score you want? You need to be thinking, this does happen. Sometimes people need to take the test 2, 3, 4 times, sometimes even more, before they get the score they want. And you need to make sure you're prepared for that situation as well. And finally, be persistent. Don't give up and hold on to your dreams. Don't let this one little test stop you from going to the university of your dreams or taking the job opportunity abroad that you've always wanted to. Don't let it stop you from moving to the country that you've always wanted to be in and starting the new life you always wanted. Hold on to your dreams and use those as motivation to get you through the preparation and passing of this test. And finally, if you want to know how to write IELTS essays that score band 7 or higher, then you might be interested in signing up for my IELTS essay cheat sheet. This is a really cool little guide that shows you exactly how to write IELTS essays step by step. It gives you real exam questions to try. It shows you exactly how to structure your paragraphs and even tells you what to write in every single sentence. So it's a great way to help you practice, and you simply need to fill in your name and email address in the box provided on my website at IELTSfreeway.com. Okay, that's enough from me. Be sure to take a look around the site and find all the information that you need. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know using the comment boxes on this page. Okay, goodbye for now.